YouTube, Captain Machine here, back for another video. Sorry about the lack of updates recently, guys. I'm going to be addressing that very shortly. But today it's something I've wanted to do for a while, and I've actually got to the point now where I'm comfortable talking about it because I have run it. Why would I be uncomfortable talking about it? I'm going to get into the moment. But we're talking today about the Deathwatch, the RPG. Published by Fantasy Flight Games, it is the third of the trilogy of Warhammer 40,000 role-playing games. Not to say there may not be any in the future, but these are the other ones that have said they're going to produce thus far. This is a continuation of what they've done so far. It uses a modified version of the fantasy system, and it uses it to good effect. The rules that actually make the game run are primarily exactly the same. However, unlike the other two, Rogue Trader and Dark Heresy, this is very, very front-loaded for your players. There's an awful lot of information to absorb right from the start, and if you're not hip deep in the lore of the Warhammer 40,000 universe, you may find that there's a lot to absorb, and there is. I mean, even your character sheet has a small paragraph worth of text telling you all the rules that every Space Marine by default has, all the biometric implants, all of their power armor abilities, and so on and so forth. And these things that you are expected to have as part of the adventures and things like that. But well, it's a lot of information to absorb right from the start, and that is the biggest flaw with this game. Not to say it's not a bad game. I really do enjoy it, and we're going to talk about what I enjoy about it later on. But there's an awful lot to absorb, and as a brand new player to the Warhammer 40,000 universe, I do not recommend Deathwatch. If you are liking the tabletop, you like your audio stuff, you like the novels, then Deathwatch is a fantastic place to get into it. It's a lot of fun. However, there is a lot of information to absorb. First of all, Dark Heresy is very, in my opinion, the rules lightest of the three. And if you are a new starter to the 40k universe, start there. Because you play humans with human problems and human issues which get caught up in the bigger scheme of things. So it's easy to relate to your character. The next one on from that is Rogue Trader, which is, in my opinion, the second most complex one. Once again, you are playing human beings, but you are of a significantly higher rank, and you get the ability to boss people around much more than you could in Dark Heresy. To the point where one player character usually is the Rogue Trader, and as such owns the ship, you know, the 3-mile long ship that you own, plus. And there is a lot of information, rules-wise, that goes into Rogue Trader beyond Dark Heresy. However, that's mainly ship combat stuff, so if you're not doing ship combat in the game, you don't need to learn it. And ultimately, if you're very rarely doing it, or you're doing it on occasion, only really your GM and possibly one or two members of the group need to actually know what the hell's going on. You can bluff the way through the rest of it quite easily. However, there are a ton of rules in this, and they're all to do with being a Space Marine and going on missions as a member of the Deathwatch. So you got stuff like, when you start a mission up, you are given a mission by your watch commander, or you could assign yourself a mission if you are behind enemy lines and you've discovered something that needs to be dealt with. And you get your primary, your secondary, tertiary objectives, and you also assign a level of difficulty to them if you wish to do so, and that determines your resource points, which allow you to purchase items, because Space Marines don't have currency. They walk up to their quartermaster and say, "Can I have a plasma gun, please?" And he goes, "Well, have you earned a plasma gun? You know, or do you really need a plasma gun for this mission? After all, you're only going to kill one man. Do you really need a plasma gun?" So that's what you, that's the first part. Then you've got to decide who is the team leader. Now this part I really do like. Granted, it is a bit more rules, because the team leader determines what oath you can take, and the oath you can take determines what attack and defence patterns you have available to you as a squad. I'll get into squad mode in a moment. However, team leaders are not the be-all and end-all as you would think they are. Normally what you'd get with a team leader is that they would be the boss and they would tell everyone what to do, end of. However, in Deathwatch they are very democratic about this, so groups that don't like being told what to do by another player, which is one of the reasons why I find that Werewolf is a very hit and miss with certain groups, will like it, because ultimately, in the event of a conflict where people can't decide what course of action to take, your squad leader's role entirely in this is not to tell you what to do, but to break ties. So if there's 5 guys and 2 of them want to go and blow up the artillery, because that's the best way to deal with the situation, and the other 2 want to go and take out the ammo dump, because that's the best way to take out the situation. Well, the team leader goes, well, I say we take out the artillery. And the other two, granted they voice their opinions, but ultimately fall in line and get on with everything else. And it's a majority rule, and there's nothing wrong with that. As squad mode, you get access to squad abilities. Now, I tend to find these are very hit and miss in their effectiveness. First of all, you've got the generic ones. The generic ones are fine, they've got some really nice ones, but they only apply to very particular situations. There's very few of them are generally universally used all the time. Maybe that's the intention of the design behind it, because you have a finite resource cohesion, I'm probably mispronouncing that, which you use to buy these abilities, basically. And you activate them by doing that. And you also have chapter-specific ones, because as a member of the Deathwatch you are drawn from multiple Space Marine chapters, and they only apply to other player characters from the same chapter, so it can be kind of limiting. However, I thought for the start that was the case, but there is a tactical marine you can take, which basically allows you to transplant your chapter knowledge to the entire team regardless of where they came from, so that's kind of being dealt with. Ultimately, it's very difficult to run. I'm running it at the moment. We're 4 sessions into our campaign where they're hunting down an orc war boss who's busy trying terrorising a certain sector of space. And it's very hard to run because it's a case of balance. I mean, it's very easy to balance Dark Heresy. Generally speaking, if you get shot a couple of times in Dark Heresy, you're in trouble. In Deathwatch, not so, because you've got a lot of toughness, you've got a lot of power armour, you can take quite a beating, so to give a challenge to that you have to ramp up the difficulty. There is a thing called Hordes in this, which is kind of like how minions work in D&D 4th edition, where one hit kills and stuff like that, and you kind of chopping your way through the minions. But you tend to find that at very low numbers these hordes are incredibly easy to eliminate, unless you give them a lot of armour and such, which makes it inappropriate because in the 40k universe you don't get hordes and hordes of people wearing the best armour in the galaxy. So overall it's a fun game to play. Me and my players have had a lot of fun playing it. However, it comes with a proviso that there's a lot of rules involved with it, and I highly do recommend that not only the GM reads the book in its entirety, and you are going to forget things because there's a lot to take in, but your players read it as well. I believe that PDF copies of it are available. If you don't want to go and pay the full price for it, recommend to your groups that either buy the book or they buy the PDF and read it, because there's an awful lot of information to absorb, particular traits, abilities, chapter-specific things which relate to your character, and it's stuff that the GM can't possibly learn. There's 100 tiny little different rules going on here, which is the game's biggest downfall. So from there, I do highly recommend it, but you have to put the effort in. You can also, with the Deathwatch conversion kit, make your own Deathwatch models as well, which is probably what games which are wanting to go with this, because after all, Space Marines sell like hotcakes and they make money off it. As with everything that's rules heavy, I highly do recommend that you get your hands on the GM screen. This is a fabulous GM screen made of very good cardstock, and it looks absolutely lovely on the front, as you've seen, and it's full, absolutely full of useful information. The only thing that I seem to be missing from this, and it's more of a niggle than an actual criticism, is there is no table for grenades and missiles, which do come up quite a bit, especially when you have to start throwing grenades into bunkers and such and firing missiles into various different things. But all the other weapons and close combat weapons are in here, along with a way of determining where the critical hits are, and it also comes with a little book as well, with a little mini-adventure in it and lots of useful tips of how to run the campaign. As for the adventures themselves, I'm not quite sure. There's an adventure in this, and the adventure comes with this as well. I haven't run them, purely because I do actually play with a group that actually do habitually collect these sort of things, so I try to run homebrew stuff because there's a possibility they've ever read some or all of it. Granted, the first adventure in here is very much a cut and paste job, because the idea is you get given a situation and something to do, but it's up to the GM of what order things happen, so it's very hard to memorise what's going to happen next. But I like to do my own little thing anyway. There is 2 more books out for this so far. There is The Emperor Protects, which is a trio of adventures which I will pick up at some point in the near future and therefore reviewing. And there's also Rites of Battle, which is a player supplemental and rules appendix as well, including things like vehicle combat, the Imperial Fists, because they are missing from here unfortunately, and also how to make your own chapters, new equipment, new items, and so on and so forth. So again, I'll be reviewing that when I get my hands on it. So thank you very much for your time, guys. Goodbye. Yeah, sorry about this, guys, little amendment. I forgot to mention that given the score of this, I would give it a 4 out of 5. It's a very good game, even with my criticisms. If you can get away from the front loading and the rules requirements of it, it's a good fun game.